Welcome to the PRSS 120 Provider Portal Overview Training Session. During this session, we'll show you how to navigate the Provider Portal. Then we'll show you how to access provider functions, maintain provider profile data, update provider enrollment information, and manage delegate access. My name is Melanie, and I will be guiding you through this session. Our agenda today, we will give a brief welcome and opening. We will go over Provider Portal Access and Overview. We will do a portal overview. We will go over the My Account profile, managing delegates, managing my information, revalidation, and then we will wrap everything up. Our learning objectives today in the Provider Portal Overview session, we wish to understand basic navigation of the Provider Portal. We will identify which tasks are accessed from the provider portal but are completed in other systems, and we will go over how to manage provider information. Our first section is a provider portal access and overview. We will do a provider portal overview. We will go over credentials and how to access and switch providers.
Welcome. By now you probably know that you will need to use MES to access the new provider portal. But the steps to get set up and access this portal to perform your daily functions may not yet be clear. Let's help define this process so you know what to expect. This entire process includes 3 key steps. First, you'll need to enroll as a Virginia Medicaid provider if you are not already enrolled, or if you need to add a service location. Next, you'll need to access the MES Provider Portal. Then you'll need to set up all delegates who will perform tasks in the portal on the provider's behalf. It's that simple. The transition to using MES and the new Provider Portal starts with enrollment using the Provider Enrollment Wizard. The Provider Enrollment Wizard is a dynamic, user-friendly electronic form that you will use to submit your provider enrollment application. If you are not already enrolled, if you need to add a service location, or if you are an MCO-only provider, your first step must be enrollment. Otherwise, you will not be able to gain access to the new provider portal. Before you start the application, the Provider Enrollment Wizard has a pre-checklist generator that you can use to help identify the required documentation and information that you will need as part of your application. To generate this checklist, you will need to know the enrollment type and provider type. For more information on determining these 2 items, pause this video and copy the URL. When you go to this site, you will scroll to the bottom and select the PRSS Provider Code Value Descriptions link to download the spreadsheet. When you open the spreadsheet, select the Enrollment Type, Provider Type crosswalk to view these details. While this electronic application is intuitive to use, you may want to view the training that details each section of the application. For this training topic, you can register for the PRSS 111 virtual session that includes all possible application sections. Or if a video fits better into your schedule, you can view a video that is tailored to include only sections relevant to your enrollment type by watching the associated video in the series PRSS 112 to PRSS 117. There is also a comprehensive Provider Enrollment Wizard user guide on this provider training page. This training can be found by scrolling down to the How to Enroll as a Provider section of the Provider Training page. After your application is approved, you'll receive 2 emails with credentials to log into MES so you can access the new Provider Portal. In the Provider Portal, you should verify your provider and profile information. This was the information you included in the application. For this training topic, you can register for the PRSS 120 virtual session that includes detailed navigation demonstrations. Or if a video fits better into your schedule, you can view a shorter video version that addresses key navigation by watching PRSS 121. There is also a comprehensive Provider Portal user guide on this provider training page. This training can be found by scrolling down to the How to Use the Provider Portal section of the provider training page. After you gain access to the Provider Portal, if you want to assign delegates to perform tasks in the portal on the provider's behalf, you will need to set up delegate access. When you set up a delegate, that user will need to complete their MES registration to obtain unique credentials before they can start using the system. Each provider and delegate should have their own MES login credentials. For this training topic, you can register for the PRSS 118 virtual session that includes how to set up and manage delegates, their roles, and their permissions. For your convenience, there is a video recording of this session on the provider training page. You can also find step details related to managing delegates in the Provider Portal user guide. This training can be found by scrolling down to the How to Use the Provider Portal section of the provider training page. Before we end this video, we want to mention a few more training courses that might benefit you. MES 103 is a video that provides you with a detailed view of the process for logging into MES and navigating to the Provider Portal. It also includes a quick reference guide that you can save or print. MES 105 is a reference document that explains how to access additional MES modules, such as CRMS for long-term care screening and assessments. On the provider training page, there is a link to the CRMS training page, where you can find additional self-paced interactive courses that walk you step by step through the screening and assessment processes in the new CRMS module. We hope this video has provided you with clarification and helped you better prepare for your next steps. You are now ready to get started.
So the Provider Portal is a self-service tool that provides healthcare-related information to providers and users authorized by providers. Within this portal, a provider can communicate with PRSS clerks as well as access claim information, check member eligibility, or update their provider information. Provider Portal Maintenance is a self-service module within the Provider Portal used to view and maintain provider information such as addresses, associations, billing information, and delegate access. There are various roles that can be assigned within the portal. Let's take a look at these now. If you are the provider, you have a few options depending on the level of control you want over your information and tasks performed on your behalf. If you are an individual provider, you can directly assign and manage delegates to perform tasks such as submitting claims on your behalf. If you don't want to manage those delegates yourself, you can assign a delegate administrator to manage them on your behalf. This administrator can also perform tasks that the delegates do. If you are an individual provider within a group of providers and don't want to perform the administrative work yourself or assign and manage delegates, you have the option to assign an authorized administrator who will maintain all your provider account information and tasks. During enrollment, this provider type has the choice to opt out of portal access and rely solely on that administrator for all updates and processing of tasks. Existing IG providers will automatically be registered to access the portal, even if they decide to fully leverage that administrator for such tasks. So keep these roles in mind because the authorized administrator and delegates who work on behalf of more than one provider will see something slightly different when they log into the portal. So the primary account holder, or PAH, is a term often used for existing providers or MCOs who used one email address to perform all tasks in the previous system. In the new PRSS provider and MCO portals, each user must have an individual email address for added security. So the term PAH will not have a direct correlation to the roles within PRSS. Also, each MCO will have one primary account holder, or PAH, whose credentials will be created by Gainwell. The PAH will then need to create delegates. So before you can access the portal, you will first need your MES credentials. If you are a current provider, you will already have access to the provider portal in PRSS using your MES credentials you received via email. Although your information was transferred to the new system, you will need to reassign your delegates and authorized administrator to your profile. For more information on managing delegates, attend the PRSS 118 Introduction to Provider and MCO Delegate Management training session. If you are a newly enrolling provider, you will receive MES credentials via email after your VA Medicaid enrollment is approved. Credentials are delivered in two distinct registration emails. The first email includes your user ID and a hyperlink to access registration for Provider Portal. The second email will include your temporary password. If you have multiple service locations, you will only receive email credentials for the first service location because registration is only completed once. Now, let's see what the provider portal looks like. You will always start at the secure MES login page, and you can find a hyperlink to this page from your first email. So on the MES login page, you'll enter in your MES credentials. If you are a current user, you will log into MES with your current credentials and click Sign In. If you are a new user, you'll enter the emailed user ID and temporary password and click Sign In. If this is the first time you are logging into the portal, it will ask you to change your temporary password. So you'll enter your temporary password as your current password, then create a new password and confirm it. And then you'll click Set Password. The system will then ask you how you would like to receive your authentication code. Select email or text and select Request Code. Enter the authentication code you received and click Submit Code. A license agreement will appear for you to complete. Select the Accept button and click Submit. On the MES landing page, you'll scroll to the bottom where you will see the Provider Management tile. You'll click the arrow to show the PRSS links. Click the PRSS link to land on the home page. When you click that link, it will take you to the Provider Portal. Now, when a delegate logs in and works on behalf of more than one provider, the Switch Provider window appears. This allows the delegate to switch between providers. So we will go ahead and pick our provider and click Submit. Now, if you are assigned to more than one service location for the provider, a window with the service locations appears. Otherwise, you will be taken to the home page. So let's select a location to continue. Now, let's say you've finished working for this provider and you want to switch to perform some tasks on behalf of another provider. You can do that by clicking this link in the top right area of the bar. If you are a delegate, it will say Go to Switch Provider. If you are a delegate who is assigned as the authorized administrator, this will say Go to Switch Associated Provider. So we will go ahead and select that, and then we will select our other provider, and we will select Submit. Now, the system didn't ask me to select a location this time before displaying the home page because this delegate only has one service location. So in our next section, we will do a portal overview. We will go over the at a glance bar. We will take a look at the navigation menu, the message center, the module tiles, and we will take a look at the live help option. All right, so once we're at our home page, I want to point out the at a glance bar, this bar here. It's located at the top of every page, and the at-a-glance bar provides a list of all available functions from the current window. So over here to the right in the at-a-glance bar, we have our Messages tab, which displays broadcast messages related to system outages, system upgrades, new features, and important information messages. Broadcast messages display when you log in and are organized by the highest priority, then sorted by the effective date with the most recent date first, and then alphabetically by message text. Any messages that need to be acknowledged are considered highest priority and thus display at the top of current messages. Select the red checkbox to acknowledge. Next to the Messages tab, we have our Contact Us tab, which displays contact information for the provider to contact support via email, phone, and mail. Next, we have our FAQ, or Frequently Asked Questions tab, which displays questions and answers related to commonly asked questions about information within the portal. Next to that, we have our Portal Help, and that enables us to view help topics about portal functionality and the kind of information available. Help will appear in a new window. Next, we have our navigation menu here. This menu will only show features that you are authorized to access. The menu provides links to redirect you to the familiar eligibility, claims, LTC, payment history, and service authorization systems. Over here in the left, we have our Message Center. The Message Center feature allows you to send, receive, and track secure messages to and from PRSS enrollment and management clerks. This is different than the messages from the at-a-glance bar, which are informational and appear for all applicable providers. The Message Center tile displays the message count and links to view and send messages. So if we were going to enter our inbox, we would click View Messages Now, hyperlink, and our inbox window appears. We would select Create New to create a new message, and the Create Secure Message window appears. And I want to note that if we had selected the provider with a single service location, the provider location here would be the provider we selected in the switch provider selection process. The messages created here are between DMAS and the provider. So if you have more than one service location, you would select the applicable location from the drop-down field. The contact information is linked to your My Account profile and cannot be changed. Category and subject are required, and direct your message to the appropriate PRSS enrollment and clerk. So when a category is selected, the reason code drop-down appears. And anything with a blue asterisk in the left-hand corner is a required field. Once we have all of our information entered, we would go ahead and click Submit, and a confirmation message appears. To view our message, we would click Send, and our message is right here in our sent box, the message that we just created. To go back to the home page, we would click Back to Messages, and then return to home page. We can also click the provider portal up here in the left-hand corner, and that will take us to our home page at any point. So these are the module tiles. These are quick access features related to features on the navigation menu and are available on the provider portal secure homepage. Only modules that you are authorized to access will display. The tiles will redirect you to an external resource which appears in a new window. Over here on the right-hand side, we have our Helpful Links section that includes quick access to supporting resources. I want to point out the Live Help option down here at the bottom. It is an online service that allows you to chat in real time with PRSS enrollment and management clerks. Live Help provides instant online support. When you click the link, a chat window will pop up. You would complete the fields to start a chat during business hours or submit a question after hours for review on the next business day. I also want to point out there is a resources link up here at the top. This module allows you to download documents related to maintaining your provider information, such as change request letters, remittance advice or RA notices, and revalidation notices. I also want to point out the log out function in the top right of the at a glance bar. And I want to remind you to log out when you have completed your tasks to maintain the highest level of security. The next section we are going to take a look at is the My Account Profile section. Within the portal, you can view and maintain your provider information as well as additional management activities like managing delegates and accessing revalidation. So we're going to go back into the training environment to see where to locate these functions. So from our navigation menu, we will go Maintenance, and then we will go into Portal Profile Maintenance. The My Account Profile window appears with your profile information. If we were going to edit information or update information, we would click the Edit button down here in the bottom right. That would open up these fields and enable us to edit them. This would turn into a Save option, which we would click Save. Now, if you have delegates, you can manage their access from the portal too. So if we were going to access manage delegates, from here we could go to Maintenance and then Manage Delegates. We can also at any point click Provider Portal, which takes us back to the home page, and then from the navigation menu we click Maintenance and we go to Manage Delegates. And this takes us to our Delegates page. Now, you can learn the steps of this process in detail by attending the PRSS 118 Introduction to Provider and MCO Delegate Management training session. Now it's time to find out what you recall. We now have a few questions to quiz you on the material covered. Question 1. How many notifications are sent for registration for Provider Portal? Is it 0, 1, 2, or 3? The correct answer is 2. So credentials are delivered in 2 distinct registration emails. The first email will include your user ID and hyperlink to access registration for Provider Portal. The second email will include your temporary password. So our question 2, which is not a way for providers to contact the PRSS enrollment and management clerks? Is it through the Message Center, Manage My Information, Live Help, or Contact Us? The correct answer is Manage My Information. And our last question for this section, copies of letters sent to providers can be accessed from Provider Portal. Is this true or false? The correct answer is true. They are available in resources and are to and from PRSS enrollment and management clerks. The next section we will go over is Manage My Information. We will go over access, we'll view some examples, and we'll go over updating. Providers can manage their information through the Manage My Information page. Delegates with appropriate security rights or an authorized administrator can update maintenance information on behalf of the provider. Now, let's go back into the training environment to learn how to manage your provider information. So once we are directed to our home page, from our navigation menu, we will go to Maintenance, and then we will go to Manage My Information. The Manage My Information welcome window appears. If you have more than one service location option, select your desired service location from the drop-down list. If logging in as a delegate or authorized administrator, ensure the correct provider is selected. Group service locations must be viewed from the Affiliations tab. So tabs and pages will vary based on the enrollment type and the provider type. So down here we have our EFT window. So here is our EFT information. As you can see, these are the fields that would need to be completed. And I like to expand each section and then collapse it as I fill it out accordingly. So our first window that we're brought to is our General Information window. The General Information window contains information about your provider's initial enrollment, identifying information, degrees, and electronic funds transfer or EFT status. EFT enrollments only applies to atypical, group, facility, and individual enrollments. Virginia Medicaid allows one active EFT enrollment per NPI or tax ID for atypical providers only, which includes all service locations associated with that identifier. Changes to EFT enrollment will require additional processing to be approved. Our next window is our Specialties window, and the Specialties window contains information about your specialty, which is associated with your provider type, and your taxonomy, which is associated with your specialty. If we were going to add a specialty, we would come to our specialties table here, and over in the right hand corner we have our Create New option, which allows us to add a specialty. Note, anything with the blue asterisk is a required field. We can also upload any pertinent attachments that we needed by clicking here. We would select our transmission method and then our attachment type from the drop-down. We would select the file from our computer and go ahead and upload the information. And it would show in our attachments table here. Now if we scroll down, we have down here our taxonomy table. Same thing, we would click Create New to add an additional taxonomy. We would fill out the fields that are required and we would click Save. Our next window we're going to take a look at is our Addresses window. The Addresses window contains information about the service location, pay to, mail to, remit to, and IRS address. Addresses used to support provider services. The Addresses window does not display for providers only enrolled as an IG. IGs will instead have a service location module with the questions listed at the bottom of the service location address window in the Addresses module. Providers who are enrolled as individuals and IGs will see both addresses and service location pages. Now, if we were going to change an address, we would come down to our Addresses table and we would click our Create New. So service location and mail to addresses can neither be inactivated nor end dated. To change it, create a new mail to address or edit the service location address. Mail will not be sent to the new address until after the request is approved. So if we were going to update or add an address, this is where we would do so. We would select our address type here, and then we would fill in anything with a blue asterisk. Likewise, if we needed to add a phone number, we would come down to our phone numbers table, and we would click our Add a Phone Number option here. The next window we would have would be our Service Location window. if it applied. The service location window contains information such as whether new patients are accepted, any age restrictions, etc. The next window we have is our organization window. So the organization window contains information such as the organization type, business start date, tax classification, etc. So if the registered with Secretary of State box is checked, then the business start date appeared and is required. If the incorporated checkbox is selected, then the incorporated as of date field appears and it is required. The next window we have is our credentials window. The Credentials window displays information for license, Medicare number, Drug Enforcement Administration or DEA number, Council for Affordable Quality Healthcare or CAQH number, and NPI details of the provider. Credentials vary based on provider type and specialty. So to modify credentials, edit the end date of the current record, allow the change to be processed, and then add the new credential. Only use inactivate if the credentials were entered incorrectly. So if we were going to add our NPI, we would enter in our NPI information here, and here's where we would upload any applicable attachments. The next window we have to look at is our Other Information window. The Other Information window displays information such as certification details, so specialty, certification type, etc., and language details. So if we scroll down here, we have our language table. If we needed to add a new language, we would select Create New, and then the applicable language from the drop-down menu. Also with certifications, we would click the tab for our certification table. We would create new, and our Add Certification box would appear. The next window we're going to take a look at is our Disclosures window. The Disclosures window contains information related to managing employee associations, enabling practice owners to disclose any managing employees within their practice, owner associations, managing owner information for the service location ID, including ownership percentage and provider ownership, subcontractor associations, managing subcontractor information for any additional business relationships tied to a provider who owns an interest or share. Ownership changes, the percentage interest of all owners must add up to exactly 100% with requested changes. Adjust other current owner percentages and or adjust the end date for another owner's interest to remove ownership to ensure that the final total is 100%. So generally, attachments are not required. However, uploading documentation to support your request, such as the description of why a new owner is being added, may expedite the approval process. So note that all requested new owners will be screened before the request is accepted. So owner credential details are not needed. Now, if we were going to add a new owner association, we would go down to our table and click Create New from the top right-hand corner, and our Add Owner Association box appears. We would fill out the required information, fill out our required disclosure information, and here is our percentage interest, effective date, and end date. And we would upload any applicable attachments. The next window we will look at is the MCO network window. The Managed Care Organizations MCO network window displays a list of the MCOs the provider has contracted with. Now, you may submit a request including any required attachments to contract with another MCO, and all MCOs will be listed in the MCO contracts table. Active contracts will have a participation status of yes. So if I were to create a new MCO contract request, I would click Create New up here in the top right-hand corner of the table. And here we have our provider type and our specialty. Here we have our list of available MCOs. We'd go ahead and select an MCO from this list and move it over to our selected MCOs table. We can select multiple by holding down the control key and then moving them over with the single arrow, or we can move all of the MCOs listed here by clicking this double arrow over into the selected table. I'm going to go ahead and select next at this point, and our Add Managed Care Organizations window populates. So here we have our provider type and our specialty. We have disclosure forms. We have some additional information. And here we have our required attachments table and our attachments section. So this adding attachments is going to look the same as adding attachments to our specialty section, except for this required attachments table. Once we meet and upload these required attachment types, this requirement met will change to a yes. And to do that, we would come down to our attachments table here, and we'd click Create New. We would select our transmission method, and then we would select our attachment type from this drop-down list. And then select the file from our computer, go ahead and upload that document, and select Save. I'm going to go ahead and cancel at this point. And then once that attachment is uploaded here, that requirement met will change to a yes. So if an MCO requests additional documentation while reviewing an MCO participation request, the provider will use that section to provide that requested information. And once the MCO retrieves the documentation, the option to upload files will no longer appear in the MCO network window. So here in our MCO consent, if you were to select I agree here and then submit by clicking the submit button, this will create a participation request on the MCO portal. So I'm going to go ahead and select cancel, and we'll go ahead and leave this page. And our next window we're going to take a look at is our request tracking window. So you can view the request, the transaction ID, workflow comment, and status. The status here will be in process, approved, and or rejected. And you can use the Message Center or Live Help to inquire about your change request. You want to include the transaction ID for the fastest response. Some changes are immediately reflected in the provider portal, while others will require approval. When changes require approval by PRSS enrollment and management clerks, before the changes display in the provider portal, the message will include a transaction ID. So we are going to go ahead and scroll up here and log out. Now, there are a couple windows that I'd like to show you that did not come up with this particular enrollment type. So I'm going to switch back to the slides to show you those in case you encounter them. So here we have our affiliation window. The affiliation window contains a list of all the affiliations between individual within a group providers and group providers, and between ordering and referring physicians, or ORP, and facility providers. So individual within a group providers will search and view group providers. Group providers will search and view individual within a group providers. ORP providers will search and view facility providers, and facility providers will search and view ORP providers. The affiliation window does not display for atypical providers or providers only enrolled as individuals. Group and facility providers will find their own service location information in the addresses window. So if I'm going to add an affiliated provider, I come down here to our affiliations table and click Create New in the top right-hand corner of the affiliations table, and our Add Affiliated Provider screen appears. So here you can search by service location ID or NPI. We're going to go ahead and search by NPI, and I happen to have one already entered here. We'll click the magnifying glass, and our search screen appears with our search criteria and our additional search criteria populated. So we're going to go ahead and select a service location link of the first provider listed here, and we get our confirmation message at the top of the screen. We would complete the effective date and then confirm the end date and go ahead and click Save. And then our affiliation has been added and we are back at the affiliation window. So to add an authorized administrator, you would select the magnifying glass to look up your affiliated providers and then select the provider you wish to manage your account. Now this feature will only display for individual within a group providers. Next, we have our provider type window, and this window displays information such as Clinical Laboratories Improvement Act or CLIA information if you bill for laboratory services, durable medical equipment, prosthetics, orthotics, and supplies or DME POS, Surety Bond and accreditation information if you are a durable medical equipment or DME supplier. Hospital bed information if the facility has a maximum number of beds for patients. We would go ahead and down here in this table, we would select Create New, and our Add CLIA Number window will appear where we would enter in our required information and then upload any applicable attachments. Then we would click Save. Our next section is Revalidation. So all Virginia Medicaid providers are required to revalidate their enrollment information at least every 5 years. When a provider's service location has met the required revalidation criteria, a revalidation notification is sent via email or mail depending on the provider's preference. 90 days prior to the revalidation due date, 2 notifications are sent. The first notification will contain an application tracking number or ATN and a link to the provider enrollment revalidation page. The other will include the password. So 60-day and 30-day reminder notifications are sent if revalidation has not been completed. These notifications only include the ATN and a link to the provider enrollment revalidation page. Failure to complete the revalidation may result in termination from Virginia Medicaid. The revalidation feature enables providers to view the revalidation due date for a service location. A delegate can also view this page in the provider portal if they are assigned by the revalidation security function for the service location. Revalidation is available 90 days prior to your due date, and to access this feature, you'll click Maintenance on the navigation menu, then select Revalidation from the drop-down menu. A hyperlink displays in the revalidation information section when it is time to complete the application. You'll click the hyperlink to access the provider enrollment revalidation page. You are then directed to the Resume Revalidate Enrollment page of the Provider Enrollment Wizard. We now have a few questions to quiz you on the material covered. So our next question, the tabs in the Manage My Information window display according to specific enrollment types and provider types. Is this true or false? The correct answer is true. An authorized administrator is a group that manages the service locations associated with the individual within a group, or IG. Is this true or false? The correct answer is true. The only way to submit a new participation request to an MCO is by submitting a new enrollment application. Is this true or false? The correct answer is false. MCO participation requests can be sent from the MCO network page. All change requests for provider information submitted through Provider Portal are immediately applied. True or false? The correct answer is false. So certain items require additional processing by a PRSS clerk for approval. It is the provider's responsibility to ensure that all of their information available in Provider Profile is kept up to date. Is this true or false? The correct answer is true. A provider can revalidate up to how many days prior to the provider's revalidation due date? Is it 10, 30, 60, 90, or 120? The correct answer is 90. So notifications are sent at 30, 60, and 90 days. So where can a delegate locate his or her relationship code, which is used to assign the delegate to additional providers? Is it under Portal Profile Maintenance, Manage My Information, Manage Delegates, or Resources? The correct answer is Portal Profile Maintenance. So in summary of our Provider Portal Overview session, we hope you understand basic navigation of the Provider Portal. We've identified which tasks are accessed from the Provider Portal but are completed in other systems, and we've gone over how to manage provider information. So congratulations, you have completed Provider Portal Overview PRSS 120.